we going, everybody? Now, gardening at home is important for everybody, and we should all be doing it however big or small space we have. The important part of that is that if you've got family who love the way you cook, you're going to have to cook every day for them, just like I do. That spanakopita I made the other day that I posted, well, I didn't get to have any. And when I said I've got to make a pita a day, it literally means I've got to make a pita a day. And Craig, if you're watching this little segment, I've got to learn how to make your feta cheese. It's to die for. Anybody who wants to learn how to make feta, go to Craig. He makes all different types of cheeses, by the way. But back to the topic. Tomatoes. Well, it is tomato season. A lot of you have planted, and a lot of you are complaining that they're not doing too well. They're having a bad season for them. Well, there are a couple of issues that are of concern. A is the weather, because we have this radical change in temperature, hot, cold, and today it's been humid, overcast, and slightly windy. It's settled down now, so it's still sitting around 16, 17 degrees. It got up to about 22. And some tomato plants in that respect are getting a little bit diseased. Now, it all starts with the soil. And we've spoken about this. I've mentioned it many times how important it is to have the life in your soil so that you activate the microbial activity in the soil so that it can feed on the plants and feed with the plants. But if you've got really poor soil and even dry soil, I should say, that can cause a lot of problems because there's no life. When there's no moisture, there's no life. Now, I've irrigated this bed, as you see, and these are the two tomatoes I planted early, and I still haven't planted my tomatoes. Literally, I've only got about 6 or 7 in the ground, and I normally have about 50, 60. So quickly having a look at this, because we're talking about tying tomatoes up. This is the one that I tied about 2 days ago, and you can see now, because it was lying on the ground, it was all over the shop. It wasn't leaning, it wasn't growing upwards, it was leaning outwards. But look, it's already straightened itself up. They've got by nature wanting to grow upwards. So if you tie it up somewhat straight, even if it's a little bit bent, it will in a couple of days straighten itself up, and that's looking mighty fine. Now this one here, I just tied about half an hour to an hour ago, and you can see there's a little bit of a bend there. It's going in that direction. This one over here, this leader's pointing over in this direction, and this is the one that I'm going to have as a third one. It's growing away that way. That's because it was lying on the ground. It's spread out, and as it spreads out, it grows upwards. So now that I've straightened it up, we'll come back and have a look at this and see how it goes in the next couple of days as far as shaping itself back up again. Now that's on the stick, and by far too short a little stick, because that's going to hit the top in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and I'm in trouble. Well, we'll worry about that when the time comes. But that's one method of tying. Another method that I'm going to demonstrate now, this is the one that I do a lot of, and that's with the string. But you need an overhead framework so that you can tie the string onto and drop it down right on top of the tomato where it's going to be growing out of. So we'll demonstrate how to do that. And these are the tomatoes that we're going to work with. Now, these were gifted to me. Now these are an Adelaide style tomato, apparently larger than your typical Rouge de Marmande, and meant to be really tasty. So I'm looking forward to it, and actually I love the Adelaide tomato, or the Rouge. These have got a little bit of yellowing on the leaves, and look where it's grown in. It's grown in sandy loam soil, so that's straight out of the garden, and that's really heavy. Even though it's dry on the outside, a little bit moist, it was in a 6-inch pot. Yeah, it's just slightly damp in there, but there are no nutrients in here for the plant to feed off, or life in there, so it's really dead soil. So we're going to fix these up. First we've got to separate them. Now a plant of this size, you could pull it apart, but because it's dry you're going to tear a lot of the roots, and normally I would probably cut down the middle if they were in little punnets quite easily, and they would pull apart quite easily as well. But of this size here, I'm not going to cut them because I'm going to end up causing more damage to them than I'd like to. So what I'm going to do is soak them in the bucket. Now what I've done here is got some water and added our biostimulant, our Eco Butch and Liquid Gold. So while they're soaking, they're getting a feed at the same time. It won't take long to soak these, folks. Well, that depends if the soil itself is not hydrophobic. No, it's absorbing. Now this should come apart quite easily. Yes, they are. Look, here we go. Here's one. I know a lot of the soil's gone, but we're going to deal with that, and we're going to trim off all the yellow leaves. We don't need those, even this one here. I'm going to pinch that off like that. So that's one. So just wiggle them around and they'll gently come apart. There we are, there's number 2. And number 3. Now you can leave them in here for a while longer if you like, but that moisture will be quite instantaneous in the plant taking it up. So we're removing all these, look, black spot there. It's already got it, so just pinch that off. Use secateurs if you're really worried. and take these leaves off. The black spot's already started on this because they've been overwatered or underwatered and definitely underfed. Let's clean this one as well. Like that there, that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 plants here. We're going to plant, so let's get this out of the way. So now I'm going straight into this garden bed. These chili plants are going to go somewhere as well, but not at the moment. And I'm not just planting tomatoes in here. I'm going to plant the 3 in here, but I'm also going to mix in some onions, some lettuce, some flowering plants like marigolds, so we can avoid any problems in the soil. And now when it comes to planting with the string, try and get it right underneath the string line. Doesn't have to be perfectly under. So you can see where the string's falling down here. I can go slightly to the side. In fact, I want to grow it there. So that's where that's going. That's going to go just about there. And the third one, just get around here, will be just there. Now, if your garden bed's already prepared, that's fantastic. But what we're going to do here, there's a drip line and there's one over there. So we're going to plant, where's the other one? Just there. So we're going to plant in the middle of it. This is so damp. I know we had a bit of rain, but it's beautifully moist. And this is the bed that we said is quite hydrophobic. And underneath, look, it's damp on top, but not quite underneath. So I've got to turn the irrigation back on again. So no, it's a false sense of security, folks. Down deep below, it's still a little bit dry. But no, it is actually pretty dry. Look at that. All right, we've got to work on that. So keep that in mind when you're digging a hole. If you spot it to be dry, water it. So what we're doing now is opening up the hole. Now I'm going to go quite deep in here. Got some of the old roots here from the previous plants. Just get them out of the way. You don't want to squash the roots completely like that. You're going to try and open them up a little bit. It's a little bit difficult, I understand, because they're quite long. So just sit them to the side of the root ball. Now we're going to sprinkle some soil in here. We're not going to push it in and flatten it. Just shake it a little bit so it falls in there. A little bit more. Shake it through, because otherwise we're just going to end up flattening the roots. Now for those who've already planted tomatoes, well, you know what? I reckon it's really early still. Not really early, but it's about the right time. I think the seasons are so skewed at the moment that, you know, we're going to go into summer. Yeah, it's going to get hot and the plants will really react quite quickly and take off. I reckon it's about the right time to be planting tomatoes, because I planted early and some tomatoes went backwards because the soil wasn't warm enough, and also the cucumbers that I planted, well, they just went to heaven straight away. So we've done that now. We've backfilled it a little bit. What we're going to do is just shake it a little bit more like that. Now, folks, if you're finding you're getting a little bit of curl on your tomatoes, well, this is the magic stuff, the black grit. Sprinkle some of that on, and I've got some superfood as well. Just a little bit like that in the hole. A teaspoon, that's a little bit moist because I left it in the rain. Not going to hurt it. And then just cover that over like that. Now, what I've done here is I've also covered part of the stem, right? So at least 30, 40 mil, 50 mil of the stem's been covered. Now they're adventitious plants. That means that they grow roots wherever the soil touches the stem. So now what we're going to have here is more roots developing, not the ones just at the bottom that we've got, but we're going to get more above the ground or above those in the soil. So that's going to make it a bigger and stronger plant before it even starts to take off. So we're going to get a healthier plant, and obviously it's in this beautiful soil that we have. Nothing can go wrong with this. Well, actually, something can go wrong. All sorts of things can go wrong, but let's just be positive about it. Now, we've done that, and we've also got our liquid mix. Don't let this go to waste. Give it a water with that. Oh, beautiful. Happy times. So that's the watering. Now, is this string too short? Now, what we normally do is tie it to the bottom of the tomato plant here, like that, but because it's so small and delicate, it hasn't set roots, we're not going to do that. You have the other option of tying it down to a peg like this one here. So we just tie it to the bottom of that, and I've had these custom made for these tomato plants. And it just goes like that, just one little knot, and pop it in the ground. Now, as the plant grows, we just wrap it around, we twirl it around like that. It grows taller and taller. And if you get double shoots or 3 shoots that you want to develop, well, you've got spaces on the peg here. You can tie one on either end there like that, and straight up to the top. And that way you can train your tomatoes. It's a lot quicker to manage this way. It's just a quick twirl of the stem as it develops, and that's it. You don't have to sit there trying to tie it to a post, which is what we're doing with the other ones. That's the traditional way. Nothing wrong with that. It actually gives you more time to play with the tomatoes. But I'm one to think that the less you handle the plant, the less likelihood of problems occurring, any disease, infection or pests getting onto the plant. So a quick twirl around like that on the stem as it grows I find to be a lot more efficient and safer for the plants as well. My son reckons that way is a lot better than this way, only because we're in an area is prone to high winds. It's got a lot of high winds. I mean, it's blowing now. It's meant to be a calm day today, and it is. This is actually calm. See a little bit of a breeze going on there, but I tell you, when it does blow in here, it blows a gale. So what happens with this is they wobble around, and it can make it a little bit unstable in the root zone. I still have quite a successful crop, and I'm going to try it both ways now. They're not the same varieties, but we're going to try it that way. This way, we're going to fan them out, and we're also going to put a cage and grow one in a cage, and we're going to let one ramble and see how many tomatoes we can treasure hunt find. Who knows which is the best way. This is a lot wetter on this side, folks. Beautiful. Oh, so fluffy. Pop this into the bottom. Make sure you don't squash all the roots. Carefully like that. Sprinkle a little bit. Shake it around. Just to get rid of all the air pockets. That's the most important thing. And when you add water to it, it'll compact on its own naturally. A little bit of superfood. And the black grit to stabilise the uptake of nutrients. Yeah, that's a lot. I know it's a lot, but relax, I'm Greek. That's how we do it. When you ask me for measurements, it's all by eye. There we are. Cover the stem. There. And we tie this one up as well. There you go, folks. If you haven't planted your tomatoes, don't worry, because Vasily hasn't either. So I've got a fair few to go in. So slowly, we'll start planting out within the next week or 2 weeks, and we'll have this garden bed thriving for summer and through into autumn as well. So get some black grit and superfood onto your plants, because that'll make the world of difference as far as how they grow, perform, and become resilient against pests and diseases. So important, and they'll keep their flowers, and you'll get no blossom and rot as well with the black grit. That is the black round burnt mark or sunken mark on the bottom side of the tomato. If you're getting those on your tomatoes, that's because your soil's too acidic, and if you're getting cupping of the leaves of the new growth, that is because of the acidity. Black grit will stabilise it. It'll take about a week to 2 weeks, and you'll start to see the new growth with beautiful, clean, open leaves as well. So you'll find all that on our website, vasilisgarden.com, and at all good leading garden centres across the states. From me, Vasily, Maresi.